Nope, I got no clue. What's up, nerds? It's your boy, the OG GM. It's Saturday. It's about 9 o'clock in the morning. Not much going on in the tabletop role-playing game world right now, which is interesting considering Gen Con is just around the circuit, and we haven't really got any D&D type news from San Diego Comic Book Convention this year, so maybe nothing there until I saw this. Now, I have no information on what this is yet. It's the first time I've seen any mention of it since the OGL disaster of earlier this year, but apparently it is somehow connected with Sly Flourish, and somebody out there is working on something called Open 5e. Now, we already have Level Up 5e from EN Publishing, which is probably, the most successful of all the retro 5e clones in that it was first, and it's the one that is consistently making product. We've got Tales from the Valiant, which is technically 5e adjacent. It's the Pathfinder of 5e, or at least it hopes to be. We've got Shadow Dark, which is kind of its own thing, but it was definitely spawned by the OGL nonsense. We've got the C7D20, which we still haven't seen anything of yet. We've got Matt Colville, who said he was working on his own take on the 5e post OGL OSR January, but other than that, not much. Now you might say, what about the Orc? But again, the Orc is not a game system. It is a creative license that other people could make games under. And 5e has that weird Creative Commons SRD 1A, which we have since found out was the wrong Creative Commons to release it under if they wanted it to do what they claim they wanted to do. That's a whole separate convoluted argument. So what is Open 5e, and can it actually exist? I don't know. The Creative Commons for the 5e as it is written now is very specific for what you can and cannot use. What we used to call the OGL. Now, technically, OGL is still usable. It has been categorically proven that actually we never needed the OGL. It was just a nice little bit of insurance. But turns out, nope, we never really needed it because you can't copyright a game. So those 20 some odd years of us making all that OGL content, well, we probably could have saved ourselves a step, but you know what? I'm glad it was there. I'm glad we were able to use it. Technically, you can still use it. It's just that Wizards went for a different thing, and a lot of people are just either making their own SRD CCs, or they're putting it under the Orc or another one, or they're just saying, screw it, I'm just going to throw it out there and see what happens, because even if Wizards comes after me, it's press. So I don't know what this is. I do know it is somehow maybe connected with Sly Flourish, blah, 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 blah. Need more coffee. But other than that, no clue. But I'm just tossing it out there because in case you see it in the wild, you at least should know that it's maybe going to happen. I'm not sure it can happen. I don't know. I mean, you can't release 5e. You have to change it enough to fall into that squeaky little safe corner in the current SRD open source CC 1.A that the 5e rule set is under, which Tales from the Valiant is managing to squeak through because they have the ORC behind them, and there's enough points of difference between Tales from the Valiant and 5e that Wizards of the Coast can't go after them. I mean, Wizards of the Coast could go after them, but it's probably something they wouldn't do, It's just a lot of time and energy and lawsuits that they probably would lose at this point in time. So, yeah, much like Level Up 5e, I don't think Wizards is going to ever bother with going after Tales from the Valiant. It's just, they don't need to, unless Tales from the Valiant gets so huge that it's a concern for them. So, it all falls under the mystery of points of differences. How much 5e stuff you could put out in a product without blatantly saying it's 5e and then encroaching on the CC1A, which again, as we know, is not the CC they should have put it under if they wanted it to do what they claim they wanted to do. So there is some wiggle room for them, Wizards of the Coast, to at some point in time go, oh, turns out I know we said you could use Beholder, but turns out, you can't use Beholder, and we've got to change it because we put it under the wrong one. Oops! I mean, come on, we're Wizards of the Coast. It took us 20 years to figure out you were using our stuff without our permission. So, I mean, we're not that smart. Let's face it. Because remember, that was the whole January thing was all about. We were using OGL without their permission and making D&D stuff without their permission. And they were like, whoa, wait, other people have been making stuff using our system for the past 20 some odd years? How did we not know this? Well, we're putting a stop to that now. So your guess is good as mine, but I'm tossing it out there just in case you see it in the wilderness. You can get back to me and let me know if you've heard any more about it. This is the first I've heard about it. So yeah, but I have a feeling we're going to hear words like Level Up 5e, Tales from the Valiant, Matt Colville, what the hell are you doing? And other things like that as we get to the end of 2023. We look with trepidation, I believe is the word, trepidation on Wizards of the Coast in 2024 D&D. And we're like, I mean, they can't do worse than January 2023, right? I mean, that was right. I mean, that's the benchmark of how badly you could handle a fan base and badly you could handle a product. Whoa, the amount of horribleness that they would have to go to try and outdo what they did this January would be, I mean, that would be a lot of work. You would have to actually consistently, categorically go out of your way to be as stupid as they were in January. Which you would think if we were dealing with any other company, you'd be like, yeah, they're fine. They've learned their lesson. They're not going to do anything dumb that again. But, because we're dealing with Wizards of the Coast, we're kind of more like, yeah, they're probably going to do something stupid, aren't they? So I don't know. We'll wait and see, but I'm tossing it out there. That's all I got to say about this. If you know anything about Open 5e, let me know. Till then, see ya.